بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We mentioned in the past that we have two types of rulings, and one of them is named al-hukm al-waqi'i. Waqi'i means the original or the actual or actual. And the other one is to a lesser degree is less actual. They call it al-zahiri. Al-zahiri is what it seems to be, or the apparent ruling. The apparent ruling. What does actual and apparent one means? The difference between them is that the actual one is not preceded by doubt. When the ruling is not preceded by doubt, then it becomes real or actual or original. But when the ruling is preceded by a case of doubt, then that ruling is not original. What do I mean by that? Let's elaborate on this. We come across a situation where we can find the evidence, and the evidence tells us that this act is mandatory, is an obligatory act. So there is no case of doubt or hesitation or vagueness or obscurity. It's very clear. In that case, that ruling is very clear. It's called the actual. But then we come across a situation where there is a doubt and you have to make a choice. The ruling is preceded by doubt, shak, by doubt. And you have to make, in this case, it's preceded by no doubt. Okay? This one, there is a doubt. There is a hesitation. And then you reach the conclusion. Are you with me? Do you follow me on this? So when there is no doubt, then, and there is a ruling, there is an answer, that answer is called actual or original, waqi'i. But when we come to an intersection, we don't know what is the answer. Is this halal or haram? And there is some sort of doubt there. And then we get the answer. That answer is a secondary answer, not original answer. Not original, secondary. And we will elaborate on this situation more. Hukm al-Zahiri. So they say Hukm al-Zahiri is divided into two sections, A and B. This one, al-Zahiri, the apparent, also has two sections. One of them is called Imara. And Imara is a sign. And the other is Asl. Asl is the procedural principle, or a practical. So one of them, this apparent ruling, the apparent ruling, al-hukm al-zahiri, is divided into two sections, A and B. One is imara, the plural of it is imarat, which are signs. The other one, B, is asl, procedural principle.
So what's the difference between imara versus ayah?
Ayah is a dalil. Ayah is an evidence. Okay? An imara could use the ayah. The ayah, the verse could be used in the imara. It could be used as a sign. It could be used as a sign. Okay? So, are divided into two. And these two are called ad-dalil al-dhanni. See, how many types of dalil we have? How many types of evidences we have? Evidences are branched into two main. One is definite. The definite dalil, clear cut. There is no doubt about it. It's very clear. The answer is very clear, either in the ayah or the hadith. Dalilun qat'i. Qat'. Qat' is clear cut and very obvious and very powerful and consolidated. The other one is speculative, dhanni. It carries a suppositional nature, suppositional element, not qat'i, dhanni. Okay? It's not that powerful. It's not a clear cut. However, the lawgiver gives value to it and says, although it is dhanni, although it's not 100% clear cut, but I am asking you to follow it because that's the only way to get the answer. In the absence of this, in the absence of the qat'i, the first one, which is 100% clear-cut answer and you are sure of it, you are sure that this is the right answer and nothing else in this one, in this case. When that one is absent, we come to this one as an alternative to that. Although this could be 50% or less or more, but the lawgiver says that's the only way, the only solution to get the answer is to go through this. Dalil al-dhanni. What do we mean by dalil al-dhanni? Dalil al-dhanni has two branches, this one and that one. Imara and asl. And we studied this before. We studied them in one of the sessions. The signs and the procedural principles. Now, when do we go to these? When is the turn to reach out to these two things?
Clear evidence.
In the absence of the clear evidence, we go to this. Because we need to see what is my standpoint or wadhifa or duty in regards to this situation. I could not find a clear cut. I could not find ayah. I could not find, a hadith, straightforward hadith to address this. So I have to go through the speculative evidence. And therefore I go to the procedural principles or practical principles. This is why we study these. Practical principles, usul al-amaliyya. Al-usul al-amaliyya, we resort to them to find the answer in the absence of the clear-cut evidence. And of course, the lawgiver, ash-shari', gives value to this and hujjiyya. Hujjiyah, it means evidentiary support, evidentiary certainty it gives to them. It gives value. It says, although this is speculative, but then I approve that. Because that's the only way to get to the answer. There is no other way. And I cannot leave you in limbo not knowing what to do. So I ask you to resort to these two things. Now, an example of imara. An example of imara. The example of imara is one, a trustworthy bring us a report. The report of a trustworthy person. Is this report by a trustworthy person, is it 100% correct? It's not 100% correct. He is trustworthy, he's a good person. But that does not mean everything he says is 100% correct. Because there is room for mistakes. There is room for forgetfulness. There is room that, this happened to me yesterday. I use, small tablets for cholesterol. And also when I travel, I use some sleeping pills to help me sleep during the flight. I had a long flight, 14 hours. So I was still jet lagged. And I came, rather than using the cholesterol one, I used one full sleeping pill yesterday. So I was knocked down 8 hours yesterday. And then I realized, wow, this is, although I always check, because they are similar in size, in color, and, everything is similar. But sometimes, despite that you check and you double check and you look and you search and you see and you make sure, but sometimes it happens. So these things happen. So although the person is trustworthy, thiqah, trustworthy, honest, but that does not mean everything he says is 100% correct. Maybe he misheard it. Maybe he did not see well. Maybe he was confused. But then the lawgiver says, you must accept it from him. Because if you want to doubt him, then how do you want to get to the Prophet? You did not see the Prophet. He saw the Prophet. Chain of narrators. How do you get to the Prophet? That's the only way. That's the only way of getting to the Prophet or the Imam are those people. Although they are not infallible, they are not immune from mistakes. They are not. But you must accept, and therefore it gives them an authority, value to what they say. Hujjiyat, we call it Hujjiyat. Hujjiyat khabarul thiqah. Hujjiyah means we give it credibility, authority, and value. So you have to accept it. Therefore, there is a huge debate among the schools of thought in Islam as to whether the Prophet is immune from sins only or from mistakes too. In other traditions, the non-Ahlul Bayt traditions, they believe mostly, the majority of them, they believe that the Prophet is immune from sins, committing a crime or sin or vice, dhanb. In the Ahlul Bayt tradition, we believe, according to the Quran and the Hadith, that infallibility encompasses not only staying away from sinning, but also mistakes. Because if the Prophet is not immune from mistakes, if he's not 100% correct, people going to doubt what he says. And this is exactly what happened during the time of the Prophet. Someone was writing down everything the Prophet said, everything. Has pen and paper ready, every hadith, every sentence, every comment. Quraysh told him, Quraysh means the Sahaba who were around the Prophet. They said to him, don't write, because Muhammadun bashar, qad yusibu wa qad yukhti. He's a human being, and human being is liable for, sometimes he speaks right and sometimes he forgets. He speaks wrong. He's mistaken, he's confused. So he said, I went to the Prophet. They made me confused too. So I went to him, I said, Ya Rasulullah, I write down everything you say. But my friends, the companions, they say, no, don't write down. Because when you write down, this means that this is a document and this is a law. And you pass it down to other generations, and sometimes it's a mistake. The Prophet said to me, write down everything I say. فَوَالَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ مَا خَرَجَ مِنْ فَمِي إِلَّا الْحَقِّ. By the greatness of God, nothing comes out of my mouth but the truth. This means that I'm immune against mistakes, not just sins, mistakes. God, in the same way, in the same fashion, He protects me against committing a sin, He would protect my mind, my tongue, my eyes, my ears from mistakes. Prophets and Imams are exception. Prophets and Imams are exception. And I have seen this in my life. I've seen some people who are not infallible, they are not Imams, but they never forget. They never forget. They have super sharp memory. When they read a text one time, I've seen them. I've seen a couple of examples. He reads this page one time, that's it. Sticks in his mind. He can read it to you. He can read it from quotations, not Quran or Hadith, quotations of scholars, ulama. They read them letter by letter, exactly. So we have seen this with ordinary people. So it happened. Definitely God would allow the Prophet and the Imam to. And this is a verse in the Quran. سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ. We will make you memorize. نُقْرِئُك means memorize, that you would never forget what you memorize. You would never forget. But other people, even though they are trustworthy, pious, but they do not have this immunity 100%. Sometimes they don't see well, sometimes they don't hear well, sometimes they don't write. But then the Shari', he says, this is hujjah. Because if you're going to doubt and you're going to, every time he says something, you say, well, maybe he didn't hear well, he didn't report well, then how are you going to get to the Prophet and the Imam? That's the only way, is to trust them. Although there is a room for mistakes, but we elevate them to the level of authenticity. So in this case, it's a sign. It's a sign, but then the sign is given credibility and value. Okay? The other example of this, of the Imara, is that now let's take the Imara. This is an example of the Imara. Example of Imara, a sign, is this. Is the authority, credibility, the value, hujjiyah of the report of a trustworthy. We come to the second type. The second type has also A and B, asl. The asl also is divided into A and B. Let me put them here. So I'm speaking about this now. This is the asl, the practical principle or procedural principle, has A and B. A The example of it, the example of A, is that they call it non-secure procedural principle. Non-secured. Procedural principle. غير محرز. Non-secured. أصل عملي غير محرز. أصل عملي a procedural principle that is not secured. Not secured. And what is that? The example of that. The example of that is أصالة الحل. أصالة الحل. What is أصالة الحل? The concept of permissibility. What is أصالة الحل? أصالة الحل is a hadith extracted, taken from a hadith. That hadith says, that hadith stipulates كل شيء لك حلال حتى تعلم أنه حرام. كل شيء لك حلال حتى تعلم أنه حرام. Every object or action with the first look, first impression, first reaction is halal, permissible. Unless stated otherwise. So you come across any action, any behavior, any procedure, any whatever is considered halal. Unless تعلم, see, تعلم, علم, you have to have علم. You have to have knowledge, secured knowledge and authenticated knowledge that it is otherwise. And this makes life easy for the devotees and the believers. If we want to speculate at each and every action, oh, this is haram. No, I should avoid this. I should not do this. I should not. Then in that case, you have to sit at home and shut the door and do nothing. But Sharia came to make life easy for us. It says, listen, go forward until you see a sign, stop sign, then stop. You don't have to stop every minute. Go with full speed until you see a warning, a sign, then you have to stop. If there is no sign, it means you don't stop. You continue, you do. This is asl, amali. This is taken from what? Yes, procedural principle. Although it's a hadith, but we consider it procedural principle. Why do we not consider it? Why do we not consider it dalil qat'i?
I was about to ask that question because it's from hadith.
Exactly. Why it is dalil dhanni? Why we consider it part of this, not part of that?
Because it's not clear, like it's not a specific ruling on a specific incident, it's very general.
No.
No, but it has a doubt in it.
Exactly. Because this one, although it's telling you hadith, telling you do, but does it tell you that you're going to reach the exact and the actual and the original ruling? Huh? No. It says, I'm making your life easy. So maybe sometimes you do something which could be haram and not right, but I have given you the authority to make your life easy. So this is hukum zahiri. Okay? This hadith when you try to implement this hadith, sometimes you come across a waqi'i ruling, okay? And sometimes you come across apparent ruling, not waqi'i, not real, not original. Are you following me on this? This is why it is called non-secured. Non-secured, because this law gives you permission to do things where you could do something wrong, but that wrong is forgiven by the Shara. As long as you don't know, see? As long as you don't know. But if you know, you can't do that deliberately. If you know this is wrong, you cannot do deliberately. حتى تعلم. Until you know this is wrong, this is haram, then don't do. But if you don't know, then move. Move forward. But moving forward does not mean that everything you do is going to be real ruling. Sometimes you do things that are haram, but the Sharia says because you don't know. You don't know. And we are not going to punish you. Okay? The second B, so this is A. B, the example of B is what? والثاني والقسم الآخر الحالة الأولى الحالة الثانية قاعدة الفراغ. Wow, this is beautiful. قاعدة Okay. قاعدة الفراغ. Another stipulation, another law that stipulates that once you finish an act of the prayer, this is regarding the prayers specifically. Once you finish your prayers, if a doubt crosses your mind about an act of the prayers, you forego that doubt and you say, my prayers is correct. You don't care about the doubt. قاعدة الفراغ.
You should say it during or after?
After. Faragh. Faragh means after you finished. After finishing, after ending the prayers. After ending it.
This is another hadith?
Yeah, of course. Another hadith. He comes to the Imam al-Sadiq, and he says to him, Yabna Rasulullah, I finished my prayers, and then doubt came to my mind. Did I do second rak'ah? Did I do tashahhud during the second rak'ah, or I missed it? I don't know. Imam says, La ta'tani bishakkik. Don't care about this doubt because you finished your prayers. After finishing the prayers, you don't care about it. Okay? Now some people drag this not just to the prayers, to other actions too, when you finish them. But the hadith came specifically to address the prayer situation. Once you finish your prayers, and a doubt, sometimes not a doubt, you are sure that you missed. Somehow you know, you are sure. So this is not a doubt. Here you have to repeat the prayers. But if the doubt comes to your mind, then you don't care about it, because we have a stipulation, a law that states that once you end the action, you don't look back. You don't look back for correction. Say, I've done it right. Why? They give a reason. They say because the closer you are to the incident, the more you are able to remember. The closer you are to the incident, to the action, the more you are able to remember whether it is right or wrong. So after the prayers, when the prayers is done, you are not very close to that. You passed it by 5 minutes, by 3 minutes, by 1 minute. Still, this 1 minute counts, they say. A minute earlier, you were more able to remember. So if you really had missed an action, you would have remembered it during your prayers. Now, is this correct in all cases? I'm asking a question. Answer me, please.
No.
No, it's not.
Correct.
It's not. Sometimes I remember 2 days later, I remember better. Okay? But most cases, it applies to most cases. It applies to most cases. It does not apply to 100%, not to all people, but to most people. We have exceptions that there are some people that after they finish, they start remembering very well. Their memory is much sharper after the incident. Okay? But that is a minority. We speak about the majority. So there are exceptions, but we speak about the norm. Okay? And in this case, this is also asl. We learn it from asl. This is aslul amali, because why do we go to asl?
When there's no dalil.
When there is no dalil and when there is doubt. When you have doubt about something, you go to the asl. When there is no clear-cut answer. So this is, but they call this is asl amali, but muhraz. They call it muhraz. Secured. Or muhraz.
So the Adatul Faraq is muhraz?
Yes.
Oh. Why is it muhraz?
Because of what I said. Because in most cases, you are closer. Because don't pay attention to the doubt. Because in the norm case, in the majority cases, if you had some mistake, you would have remembered it during the prayers. It's not muhraz 100%, not 100%, but mostly. Okay? While in this case, why it is non-secured, not why it is غير محرز, أصالة الحل.
Because it's mostly doubt.
Exactly, not just mostly doubt. It's giving you permission, it's giving you discount basically. He knows that you are going to come across situations, you're going to violate, you're going to commit something haram, but I am giving you permission. I am the lawgiver. I don't want to make your life hell. I'm giving you permission. So it is not secured 100%, but it is accepted. It's accepted. This does not mean that Asalatul Hil is going to protect me 100% against violations. No. He's not telling I'm going to protect you. He's telling I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to punish. There is a difference between I'm going to protect you. Listen, follow this. You are not going to have any problem. He's not saying that. No, he's saying I'm not going to hold you responsible. If there is problems, I'm not going to hold you. So it is non-secured. Non-secured, it means it's not protecting me against the mistakes or sins or violations. But I'm not going to be held responsible. This one, they call it vis-a-vis this. In regards to this, they call it muhraz, although it is not 100% muhraz. Sometimes, sometimes your doubt was correct. Okay? The doubt is correct. But they call it doubt. They call it doubt, and you cannot act upon the doubt. Sharia says don't act upon it. Act upon certainty, qat', always. In case of doubt, we will give you a solution, but don't act upon. لا تقطع اليقين بالشك ولكن اقطعه بيقين آخر. Do not break your certainty with doubt. Break your certainty with another certainty. This is why Sharia says, in case of doubt, you don't have to act upon that. This is why they put this, قاعدة الفراغ. Okay? Now, who has sharp memory and remember a few weeks ago when we compared between this and that? Imara and Asl. Who comes first? Who takes precedence over the other?
Imara?
Exactly. Why?
Because it's a sign. It has higher level. Because the next one you require some research and some extraction.
Exactly. Imara is a sign, and the sign has higher value, although it is dalil dhanni. Although both of them are dalil dhanni. See, both of those are ad-dalil dhanni or dalil dhanni. Both. They are not dalil qat'i. But even when it comes to dalil dhanni, there are preferences. One of them is stronger than the other. In the case of Imara, usuliyun, professors, scholars of usul, they give more credibility to Imara above the Asl. And we studied this a few weeks ago. What time is it? Any questions in regard to this?
So the only question I had is, that's just an example of the muhriz?
Yeah.
Because it's broken into
Yeah. Into two parts.
Ghayr muhriz and
Yes,
muhriz.
yes, exactly. This asl, the asl, okay, we have, see, the rulings, look at this just for 1 minute, 1 minute. Rulings are divided into two. One of them is waqi'i, secured, original. Ruling is original, no doubt in it. 100% original, authentic, and actual. The other is zahiri. It's not 100% original. There is room for not being real. Okay? But the Sharia says that's the only one. When you don't find this, you have to go to this. What's the difference between them? The difference is that here is not preceded by doubt. You are not in an intersection where you don't know whether you do this or that. The answer is very clear. Okay? In that one there is doubt. There is doubt. And you need to incorporate a procedure to find out. It's not a clear cut. This is why it's called. And it's called zahiri, apparent, because there is room for not being real. But that's the only one the only way we have to do. Okay? Now using medical jargons. Sometimes the doctor says, let's do MRI. Sometimes says X-ray. X-ray I can find out through X-ray. But he says sometimes no, let's do MRI so I can find the actual reason. X-ray is like this. Okay? This is MRI. This gives you an answer, clear-cut answer. No room for doubts. This one, because it is preceded by doubt. So you have to resort to this. And this one is divided. Now forget about this one, we finish with this one. This one is divided into two. Into Amara and Asl. Amara is a sign, is a little bit stronger above the Asl. And the Amara, we gave the example of Imara. What was the example of Imara? When someone comes with a news, do we accept this or not? The aql says, listen, I trust this person. He never lied. But that does not mean he's always right. It doesn't mean he's always right. But Sharia says, you have to accept it. Now, what is the difference between the, I have to test you here, guys. What is the difference? We said dalil qat'i and dalil dhanni. Didn't we say this? Okay? Dalil qat'i and dhanni. Qat'i is what? Is 100%. No doubt about it. Okay, certainty. Dhanni is, let's say, 70%, 80%, whatever. Now, isn't this khabar riwayah? He's telling us riwayah, hadith. Isn't the hadith supposed to be qat'i? When we examine the hadith is correct. Let's say the content of the hadith, the chain of narrators, shouldn't be qat'i. Why do we say this is dhanni?
Because it's not coming from a ma'soom. If it was coming from a ma'soom, then it would be qat'.
But how do you see the ma'soom? How do you see the ma'soom? You can't see the ma'soom. They're all coming from ma'soom. Even the qat'i is coming from ma'soom. Now, the faqih now at this time, he can see the ma'soom. He has his Twitter account or WhatsApp. He doesn't have. He has to go through chain of narrators. But then he considered it qat'i. He considered one hadith qat'i, one hadith dhanni. How is that?
Narrators. Chain of narrators?
No. Chain of narrator, if there is one of them is shaky, throw it away. You don't even consider it dhanni. Throw it away.
If aqliyan it doesn't give you any doubt.
No.
No.
How about if it aligns with the Quran?
If it has to be. If not, again, recycle it. Throw it away.
Use Amr Rijal to
Passing that stage. But it still are categorized into two. One of them, we accept it 100%. We consider it qat'i. Another one, hadith, we consider it dhanni.
That's a great question.
This one, when there are more than one narrator. This one, khabar al-thiqa, he's solo. He's one.
Okay.
He's one, but because he is trustworthy, although he is one, we're going to accept his story. But we call it dhanni. Why we call it dhanni? Because the aql says he's one and he could be mistaken. But Sharia says no. Because he's trustworthy, you must accept him. Because there are many incidents that there was only one person sitting next to the Prophet and the Imam. There was no second person. But that person is trustworthy. So even if he's one, we would accept his hadith. This is why it's imara, my friends. See? It's an imara, hujjiyatu khabar al-thiqa. We give hujjiyah to it, although the aql should speculate and should doubt, because this is one person bringing me. And there is room for mistake. The aql comes to me, he says, this is one person. Yeah, had it been 5, I will say 5 people are telling me. Just like when you go to a doctor. One doctor says a story, okay, but he's one. You search for a second opinion. Third opinion sometimes, when something is serious. The same thing, we use it here. But this one, because he's trustworthy, if he's not trustworthy, forget about it. Because he's trustworthy, thiqah, then Sharia gives value to it, endorse him. Although there is room for mistake, and it happened that sometimes they are mistaken, they don't hear very well, they forget, they misquote, they miswrite, but Sharia says if you try to question them every time, then you are not going to find solution for your problems. So hujjiyah. This is why it's imara.
Is there exceptions for some narrators where it becomes qat'i automatically? I think we started about 18 forgot what the narrator is.
The golden narrator.
The golden narrator.
Golden chain.
Golden chain.
But remember, the golden chain, when it passes the period of the Imams and comes later on, then again it will have the same problem. You have to examine the chain of narrators. Because while it is between the Imams, it's golden chain. But after Imam al-Rida, someone heard the Imam al-Rida. Okay? He said, I heard him saying this. And then someone else came after this guy and he said, I saw Muhammad who saw Imam al-Rida. And then the third generation, fourth generation. So again, you're going to have, although it is golden, golden means when it is within the Imams themselves. But when it leaves the circle of the Imams, it's not golden anymore.
It wasn't necessarily the Imams, I forgot what the word was, the narrators, I think Sayyid
I'm looking for it to see if I can
Thomas.
find it.
Start with a V, I think, right? It was a group of people that automatically, we don't even need to know who said it after them.
This is consensus. This is consensus. It's called consensus. This says when a group of narrators, trustworthy narrators, they say something, it means the Imam is one of them. This is authentic. It reveals when there is no disagreement among them, group of narrators, all of them trustworthy. Let's say 10 people. They came and they said, blah, 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 hadith. Then when there is a consensus among them, we know that the Imam is one of them, is among them, and they are authentic. We are speaking about one here. One soul. The one, there is room for mistake. Even in the court, why they asked for 2 witnesses? Although there is one is enough. One saw the murder with his eyes for killing. But when you go to an Islamic court, the judge says, I know you, I trust you, but I can't. Unless you bring me someone else who's like you, trustworthy. Although this person is 100% honest, truthful, but we cannot accept him. Why? Because it has to do with the blood. And with the blood, you have to be super careful. So you tell him, I respect you. I'm not saying you are lying, but one is insufficient. You need to bring another. In fornication, they need 4. Wow. 4 witnesses? How do you bring 4 witnesses? And 4 witnesses, they see al-mil fil mikhala, the penetration. The penetration itself, they see it. Not through video or picture or movie, or actual penetration. They see and they come and they describe in front of a judge, which never happened at all. In the history, no such case happened that 4 trustworthy, honest people, we saw the act. Not in movie, not in picture, no, actual act. Because this is serious. And Allah wants to forgive. Allah does not want people to come and, attack others and slander them and malign them. But here in this case, because he's one, this is why it's called imara. Imara, okay? It's dhanni, not qat'i. But dhanni, which is endorsed and accepted, okay? And then of course the asl, and we saw the asl also has been divided into 2, into secured and non-secured. And the example of the secured is qa'idatul faragh. When you end something, you don't pay attention to what happened during it. That's it. If you have doubt, you abolish your doubt. And the non-secured is asalatul hil. Everything is permissible unless stated otherwise. So if you don't get this unless, if you don't see it, then everything is halal for you. And we have many others, asala, many other laws like this. Asalatul tahara, one of them. This desk. I go to a restaurant. In the restaurant, people serve wine, people drink water, beverages, Pepsi, and wine. So when I sit on the desk, I consider if I did not see anything, neither someone informed me of the najasa impurity of the desk or the table dinner, then I consider it to be tahir. Unless I know, unless someone said, hey, before you came, someone spilled wine here. Then it becomes knowledge. This is ilm. But if I don't have that ilm, I treat that as tahir. So the door is tahir, the chair is tahir, the desk is tahir, the floor. Otherwise, if I want to say, definitely, if we want to be realistic, I would tell you this carpet is not tahir. Because there are kids as young as 4 years old. They come here Saturday and Sunday and God knows what they do here. But Sharia says you don't know. So you have to consider it tahir. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين